This is Chandler. He used to have a pretty sweet life. 23 years old, tall and handsome, and from a loving family. Thanks in part to his genetics, his birthplace, and his parents' finances, life afforded him endless opportunities. He was in a relationship with a smart, pretty, and supportive girlfriend who even agreed to move to a new state with him. He was buddies with his older brother, and the two of them had plenty of time for online gaming together. He still lived with his parents, but they owned a beautiful 2,300 square foot home in a quiet neighborhood. Besides, it would just give him that once-in-a-lifetime chance to live rent-free, save money, and go to school full-time. How could it have been any better? Well, how about a paid internship while his parents pay his tuition? With the little spare time that would allow, he could be a rescue diver for the police and really give back to the community. But why not shoot for the stars, maybe even literally one day? A job at SpaceX might make that possible. The lofty salary and great benefits would certainly make it possible to plan a nice wedding and maybe start a family. Chandler was really going places. In his mind. This is a man whose full-time job was faking having a full-time job, and it would lead to murder. And this is absolutely criminal. Chandler Halderson lived in DeForest, Wisconsin with his parents, Bart and Krista. At 23, that's not remarkable, especially during the global pandemic we must endure. But Chandler wasn't satisfied with unremarkable. He had an alter ego, and he was vicariously successful, talented, and in demand. He lied about his life to everyone he met, whether in the real or virtual world. He had a fake job that seems like it was more work than actually being employed, and he was offered another pretend career that was so lucrative and impressive that his very real girlfriend was willing to give up life near her family and follow him to Florida. He was going to work in the IT department of SpaceX, the Elon Musk-headed company that plans to launch a rocket to Mars. Unfortunately, Chandler was no rocket scientist. For reasons unknown, he was dissatisfied with his current life. He felt compelled to lie to family and friends, and in a snowball effect, one deception led to another. Each falsehood had to be more grandiose than the last, and eventually ended up with Chandler blasting off to Florida for a prestigious position that paid $80,000 a year. We're just surprised he didn't pay himself six figures. It's kind of like having a lucid dream when you realize you're in and can take control. As long as you're making shit up, why not fly like a bird over the Grand Canyon instead of just sipping coffee and reading the newspaper? In any event, Chandler's fantasy world would end up having consequences for real people. Each morning, Chandler would wake up and pretend to go to work. With COVID wreaking havoc on workplaces, many jobs that once required a commute were now done at home. This made it even easier to take imaginary college classes online. As far as Bart and Krista Halderson knew, they had been paying for their son to attend Madison Area Technical College, or MATC. In fact, Chandler's ruse of a resume boasted an associate's degree in information technology. His LinkedIn page contains a snappy little synopsis of his work history, and he really laid it on thick. The majority of my experience consists of lifeguarding and technology, but it doesn't stop there. I have a strong understanding of solar panels and the installation process that goes with them. I also have experience in teaching and leadership from when I was a teacher's assistant for an installation course at a local college. In reality, the majority of his experience consisted of playing video games, FaceTiming his girlfriend Kat, and pretending to be an actual person. Whenever a major event in Chandler's life was supposed to happen, something would prevent it. He was a bit like doomsday predictor Harold Camping, who famously prophesied the end of the world. When each date he divined came and went without apocalypse, there would be one excuse or another. Then he'd redo the math and prognosticate a new date of doom. In much the same way, Chandler always had a ready excuse, so he could hit the snooze alarm on reality and the dreaded day he'd be discovered for what he really was. Anything for a few more days, hours, or even minutes inside his cocoon of concoctions. Chandler created whatever cast of characters was called for by the situation. When he wasn't receiving a paycheck, he set up email accounts for a faux boss, a fictional human resources manager, and a non-existent payroll clerk. All these identities were whipped up to fool his parents and other people in his life, and to get people off his back when the heat was on. His forging skills, as primitive as they were, came in handy when Chandler decided he was going to work at SpaceX. And as you will find out later, these counterfeit communications played a pivotal role in his parents' demise. Then something happened that bought Chandler a little time before his SpaceX start date. His brother was hospitalized for a time and diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Of course, he could postpone the big move for his big brother. It must have given him a mild sense of relief, but one wonders if Chandler had even contemplated an endgame. As his brother began to recover, he knew that the spotlight he kept dodging was about to swing back in his direction. He took that as his cue to manufacture a new lie. One day his parents were home when they heard a loud thud. Upon investigating, they came upon a crumpled Chandler lying on the ground. He claimed to have fallen down the stairs and knocked his noggin, if that tumble was even true. His claimed injuries were certainly not. Among the consequences of alleged head injury were partial paralysis, an aneurysm, nerve damage, and a spinal injury. Most importantly, under no circumstances was Chandler to travel, whether by car or by plane. Before too long, the doctor told him he would need a colostomy bag. That sounds like a really terrible fall. Supportive as ever, his girlfriend Kat Melander assured him that even if he didn't get his dream job and whisk her away on fabulous trips, she still wanted to be with him. Other than the murders themselves, it's one of the most heartbreaking parts of this case. It really seemed like she was in love with Chandler. She was excited about starting a new life, but she would have been just fine staying in town. It's a rarity in true crime that we get to hear the exact moment someone's fate is sealed. That's exactly what happened. Bart Halderson was frustrated with some of the excuses made by his son. One was that Chandler could never seem to obtain a transcript from his school to show his dad. For months on end, his son gave him the runaround with false reasons as to why he never received it. So on June 29th, Bart called the college and pretended to be Chandler. It saved him a lot of explaining and let him get right down to the point. He was tired of the college dropping the ball, and he was going to get to the bottom of it. Thanks to quality assurance, that phone call was recorded. Have a listen.
I'm trying to get an appointment scheduled to meet with somebody to mainly just get a copy of the transcript and also a printed copy of a certificate that was earned and other degree verification.
Okay.
How do I get that done?
Okay, for the degree, you have to download the duplicate diploma form and send it in with a check or a money order of $4 for the diploma. For the transcript, you have to go online and request it.
Yeah, I tried requesting online and we never got them. And I've spent I don't know how many times doing that at $8 a piece, so I'm not willing to do that again.
Why is that letting you request your transcript? What is it?
It's not my system, it's your system, so don't ask me questions like that.
Bart Halderson was understandably upset, but what he didn't know is that there was no transcript to request. Sure, Chandler went to a few classes a couple of years ago, but there was a debt to pay first. A cloud of confusion still hung over Bart's head, but the skies were beginning to clear.
Okay, but I need to establish the problem first before I can know how to walk you through to get it. Are you by a computer so I can walk you through on how to get it?
I've gone through the process before. I worked with, I tried to work with Daniel Spike to see if he can get through the information. I don't know if he's with you guys anymore, but it just seems like the ball keeps getting dropped.
Okay, I mean it's pretty easy to request a transcript.
That's what I thought too, and
you just go to the website.
It hasn't come through.
So we have a third party that processes it. It's called Credentials. Mm-hmm. Did you talk to Credentials?
No.
Okay, so we have a third party. Hold on, let me look at your account first, okay? What is your ID number or social, so I can access your account?
No, I don't have that.
Okay, what's your first name?
Chandler, Chandler. Last name is Hald as in David, Erson.
Okay, so it looks like you owe a balance. You owe a balance of $2,349. That's why you can't request it.
Okay. Now, if we've earned a certificate, say, in that solar program,
you said
where does that get requested to?
If you earned a certificate?
Yeah.
I don't see that you earned a certificate. You were taking IT classes, right? I don't see that you were in a program.
Well, prior to the IT, there was a solar program too.
So I don't see that you were admitted in any program.
Well, you said they were, the IT degree is in there, right?
No, those are just classes. Like you took general education classes and then the IT classes.
Does the internship from the spring show up in there?
Internship? No.
Do those normally show up in there?
Yes, if the internship is part of the curriculum, yes.
Toward the end, the defeated dad began to realize his son had been lying to him. He probably didn't put all the pieces together in his mind, but he sussed out the situation well enough to know he had to have a heart-to-heart talk with Chandler. It would cost him his life.
Do you have an Alyssa Brandt that works in that area or anywhere in the campus? Alyssa? Yeah, Alyssa.
No.
Okay. How about, does Daniel Spice still work there? Speith?
No, it's not so, no.
That should do it then. Okay, thank you for your help.
With the phone conversation concluded, Bart unknowingly set evil in motion when he sent this text to his son. I spoke to Omar Job. Chandler had been impersonating college employees, creating fake emails, and even talking to his own father on the phone at one point, pretending to be a school administrator. All the email addresses for people that worked at the college ended in @gmail.com. Had Bart been a little more tech-savvy, he might have spotted that detail and realized that communications weren't coming from the school. 2 days after Bart's telephonic epiphany, he sent what would be the final text to his son. "I'm ready when you are." This was in reference to a meeting Bart had set up between himself, Chandler, and Omar Job. Sometime before that meeting, Chandler shot his father in the back multiple times. And so ends July 1st, 2021. On Friday, July 2nd, Krista Halderson was expected to be at work. When she didn't show up and her boss couldn't contact her, co-workers became concerned. Krista took her job very seriously, and they knew she would never pull a no-call, no-show. Something had to be wrong.
Did Krista show up for work, if you know, on July 5th, 2021?
No, she did not. It was my day off. I was concerned that she hadn't shown up on the Friday before. I went into work to see if she had come to work and if anyone had heard from her, even though it was my day off.
But again, no call, no show that day?
No call, no show. I texted her a little before 9 o'clock when it was apparent that she hadn't shown up. That text was never delivered.
Then, presumably to buy himself some time for whatever one does after the stone-cold slaying of his own father, Chandler texted his mother, asking her to get soda on the way home from work. Her reply, "Kay, I can," smiley face. Earlier, Krista had texted her son to tell him she hoped his meeting was going well. Supportive and concerned until the end, she certainly couldn't have known that shortly after walking through her front door at 5:12 p.m., requested soda in hand, she would be murdered by the son she'd loved unconditionally since birth. Why the drastic solution to the molehill-sized mountain Chandler made in his mind? Was his girlfriend next? Assuming he hadn't committed the most solvable crime in the history of police work, with its extensive electronic documentation, what was his next move? Chandler Halderson was not even close to getting away with it. And as we noted at the top of the show, Chandler's actual life was going pretty well, even with the growing stress of having to keep track of his lies and create new ones. He had a lot of resources at his disposal, human and otherwise. His parents paid for his needs. His girlfriend was ready to pack up and move with him to start a new life, and he had all the time in the world to play video games and hang out with friends. Had he taken time to think it through, he might have come up with a different plan. Sure, Bart and Krista would have been furious. Their son had been lying to them for years, doing God knows what with the money they'd been shelling out. There was no college degree or fancy job. But gathering from statements made by family and friends, they wouldn't have disowned him, written him out of the will, or even asked him to leave the family home. His girlfriend would probably have been angry and disappointed as well. But isn't it more likely than not she would have forgiven him after the heat of the situation had cooled? His friends would never let him live it down, but after the sting of embarrassment had time to fade, wouldn't they have gotten past it? Of course. Chandler could have dusted off the shame and still had a pretty nice go of it. But here we are, and there were even more stunning developments in the case. More about those later. But first... If you're enjoying Absolutely Criminal and want to see more stories like this, please take a moment to hit thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and ring the notification bell. Then check out our Patreon exclusives, because you don't want to miss a thing. Now back to our story. Chandler had just murdered the two people responsible for his very existence. It is difficult to imagine the thought process that brought forth this tragedy. He still had the stress of his fake life, but now he had two dead bodies to deal with. By the time he was done with the gruesome task of dismembering his parents, their blood could be found on scissors, pruning shears, hand saw blades, and an axe. When family friend Daniel Croninger stopped by the home for a welfare check, he noticed both cars were still in the driveway, and he ran into a freshly showered Chandler Halderson at the side door. He told Daniel his parents went to stay in their cabin for the 4th of July weekend. They apparently wanted to beat the traffic and left early on that Friday morning. As for Krista and Bart's cars still in the driveway, Chandler said his parents carpooled with another couple, but he never did catch their names. Daniel was left concerned and confounded, but accepted the explanation such as it was. It definitely wasn't like the Haldersons to take off on a whim, but maybe they just really needed to get away and unplug. That's what they bought the cabin for, after all. It was a place they could go to escape life and enjoy nature. Chandler would go on to tell a similar story to others who inquired about his parents' whereabouts. Because the people in Chandler Land were supposed to believe his parents were away and unreachable. He had to act normal. I'm no toxicologist, but whatever chill pill Chandler took made him appear distant and detached. People would say it was like nothing was behind his eyes, or that he was looking past them. He spent the Independence Day holiday with Kat and her mother on the property of her girlfriend, Cress. He knew they had a pool, and Cress thought swimming might be a good therapy for Chandler's injuries. The four of them discussed that for a while. They ate and chatted a while afterward. At about 9 p.m., Chandler bid Kat and company adieu because he was bushed. He wanted to get home to bed, but in this universe, Chandler didn't go to sleep when he got home. He had to continue the work he'd started the night before. On the day he killed his kin, he ran to a local home supply store for a murder cleanup kit. Then the cold-hearted culprit put his parents on ice and began to cut them into pieces. One by one, he incinerated them in the living room fireplace. He stayed up all night, shoving parts of his mom and dad into the fireplace they likely relaxed in front of. The family home was now a pseudo-funeral home. A blazing beacon of light could be seen waxing and waning all night from a neighbor's security camera. It is thought he was unprepared for the vigorous nature of the blaze and began to panic when the flames escaped and licked the mantel, bubbling the paint above the fireplace. He likely threw water on the inferno, and a glass panel was shattered by the rapid quenching of the heat. Chandler got a nasty cut on his big toe, now leaving his own blood at the scene. It was the lie he told to his girlfriend Kat that was the biggest whopper. She was friends with his parents and even texted and hung out with Krista. She thought it was odd that Mrs. Halderson hadn't called or texted while at the cabin. Kat wanted to text her and ask if everything was all right, but Chandler warned that would only make his mother upset. He said both of his parents were so pissed off about the fireplace that they grounded their adult son. His girlfriend was not allowed to come over and play. Kat likely had the reaction you just did, but she didn't pursue the matter. As you will see later, Chandler has a strange effect, at least post-homicide. Virtually everyone that had contact with him after the murders was, for lack of a better description, creeped out by Chandler's demeanor. If he was acting anything like in this police interview, that's understandable. Chandler has the deadpan delivery of a David Blaine, but without all the magic. After a little observation, one begins to suspect there's nothing really there at all. He's like a missing person within himself. He was trying to be calm and cool, a real Mr. Nonchalant. He nailed this, actually. What he failed to simulate was any concern for his parents that have supposedly been missing for a week. Or missing since whenever he received the last fake text from them. What's truly chilling is watching this footage, knowing what we know now about what Chandler did. Just a week ago, he killed his caregivers in the coldest blood, hacked and sawed them up into still-clothed pieces, and distributed and disposed of the remains over several days. Enjoy.
Do you understand the rights I just read you?
I do.
Okay. Realizing that you have these rights, or you're not willing to answer questions or make a statement.
Just need a yes, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
so
Yes.
the second one.
Okay.
So I'll just read it again. Realizing that you have these rights, are you now willing to answer questions or make a statement?
Oh, I will make a statement.
Okay.
So you understand them?
So yesterday, July 7th, I came to your house where you live with your parents, Bart and Krista Halderson. And the reason I was there is you had gone to the Windsor Police Department and reported them missing, right?
Yes.
Okay. We've been following leads last night, working today to, go through different things, just trying to locate them, right? So I guess if you want to start with, let's just go back to last Wednesday.
Wednesday. I was with my dad. What time Wednesday? I remember it. It was kind of a bad day.
Okay. Why was it a bad day?
Well, my mom had work, so she was gone. My dad and I were watching something over lunch. It was the Wheel of Fortune, and we normally have the couch, like with our back facing the table we sat at the end of you coming.
Downstairs or upstairs?
Downstairs
Okay.
in that room with the TV. I tossed the ball and I smashed the glass
Okay.
with the dog's help. That set my dad off and we tried to clean it up.
Okay.
I don't know about him, but I got injured. But he was mad. He didn't really talk to me too much that day.
So you guys were downstairs, just to touch back on that quick. So the couch, so yesterday when we were down in your basement, the couches were
In a bed. He helped me put him in a bed before
Okay.
on Thursday, but they put it into a bed so I could sleep near the bathroom, and the dogs sleep in that floor. So
okay.
they'll be a lot better if they're sleeping on that floor.
Downstairs floor,
Yeah,
just cooler for them or something.
kind of. Yeah.
Probably. Okay.
It's this gross, hairy tennis ball that
Okay.
Rizzo loves.
All right. Just like a green tennis ball, like a normal
Yeah,
ball. Okay.
with the squeaker, not like a tennis racket ball.
Chandler certainly delivers a lot of details about irrelevant things. But when it comes to anything to do with his parents, he glosses over things as quickly as possible.
It's Thursday morning. I wake up.
What time is it?
6.
Okay.
Help my mom out getting ready in the morning. She left for work at 7:30. I got her whatever she had to do. What was it? was meaningless tasks, like just daily like pillowcase changes and sheet changes, stuff like that. You know, in the morning we went to go do our own things. I went back to a little bit more job searching. This time I branched into DeForest instead of just Windsor looking. He went back to work. We planned on something went well. Oh, we were I don't know, something went well for him. So that's all. Then we just kind of hung out and my ma gets home and I start shrimp scampi for my dad because that's what he wanted, but we didn't have shrimp, so I made shrimpless scampi. That's where they told me while we were eating it they were gonna go with their friends, and I was like, oh, cool.
And they said they were going to the cabin.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
We're going up north. That's how they refer to it.
Who said that, mom or dad?
Ma. My dad doesn't talk while he eats.
Okay.
Friday.
Yep. So it was Friday
I hung
morning.
out with Kat Friday night, I believe.
What'd you do Friday during the day?
Oh yeah, let's work backwards. I kind of took the day away. I played video games.
Okay. Parents are gone, why not, right?
Yeah, I didn't do anything that I should have. I should have been cleaning and all of that. In the morning, I'm a little worried about my family. I think I called my mom. Oh, throughout I've called, I don't know the times though. Throughout the weekend, I mean. But I called my mom, I believe, in the morning. There's along those lines, and I get a text from her.
Alright. So went to Kat's house Sunday to eat. What time do you think you went over there?
Food at 3:30. That's what they said.
So about 3:30 you went over to Kat's?
Oh, I was at Kat's well before. I was at there noon.
Okay.
There's like a little pool up at the Cressa's house.
Oh,
She's been helping me with my walking and everything, and they get me there. And then we go to dance.
Okay.
For the fireworks. Like he asked us to come by 8:30. For some reason I was trying to leave, but I was making a joke about it that we're gonna be late, like stuff like that, goofy crap. I drove to dance.
Okay. Which car were you guys in?
My dad's Subaru. It's a blue.
The one in the garage.
Yeah. And then I was like, okay, we have to go home for the dogs, so we went. And that was pushing 9:30, 9:45. When we get to bed upstairs in my room, then it's Monday morning. Kat goes to work 7:50-ish, maybe earlier. Well, at the end of the day on Monday, I did go for the afternoon. I did go to the farm to talk to Cress and Kat's mom. I told them what's happening with my health because I had the appointment at 2.
Did you go to the farm before or after?
Because I told them what happened to me. And I told them the legs are probably going to be permanent and the headaches should be fixed after the hemorrhage is cleared a little bit. Then I go up to have, break down by their shed and they go swimming. I actually cried. Started kicking grass, just doing the toddler tantrum shit. Then I hopped in the water with them.
Okay.
It was too late. I was in the water and I realized Crest didn't have a top. And that was uncomfortable. But I talked to them more, and that's when she brought up the housing situation, how she doesn't how my parents are.
What were you having a breakdown about?
You ever have your legs kind of? Yeah.
No, I haven't.
It's just. Okay. I don't even know if they're done eating like as bad as they can be yet. So that's not fun.
And I think you were telling me last night it's a symptom of a concussion, right?
So
Is that right?
that's not it. It's a symptom of nerve damage from the hit to my spine. So it's permanent.
Okay, I understand that now.
And then they're like, well, appreciate you stopping by. So I head out and I go. It was Monday afternoon. I go to dinner at Kat's house on the east side. I think we just eat and cuddle a little bit.
Did he call
I
or
said
text
no word. My mom. I don't know if he called or texted.
Okay.
I think he just contacted. That's what I can think of.
Reached out.
Yeah, he reached out. Then I'm like, oh, it's Tuesday morning. They should be here.
Did your dad get injured at all when the glass broke? Did he step on any?
He sent me up, but I don't doubt it. When he gets mad, he's not thinking.
So we don't know if your dad got hurt.
No.
Okay.
No. But my best guess is that guy reached in the fireplace and cut off his arm or something. I don't know.
Is there any reason to believe mom or dad's blood would be somewhere in the house? Have they been injured at all that you're aware of?
Oh, my dad scratches his psoriasis till he, gushes blood.
Okay. Gushing. Describe gushing to me.
Enough to run down your leg, like cover your leg, I suppose. Like, he has it on his knee. So when he does this, it just, drips down. I asked him to stop, but he doesn't do it when he's stressed out.
Yeah.
He just kind of, it's his tick.
Yeah, probably itches.
My mom's blood, just from her bloody noses she gets sometimes when she wakes up. That's why we've been doing the humidifier and dehumidifiers.
Yeah. Probably downstairs you get the...
We have to do multiple of them, but she can't be in the living room too long because that's a dehumidifier. And if she does, her nose gets bad. Not like a regular one, she gets it bad. But she either goes to the kitchen to fix it, her vanity, or the bathroom.
When she has bloody noses, are we talking there's just spraying around? Is it just dripping?
Well, it's not squirting, but it's just dripping, and she doesn't notice it.
Okay.
She can't feel it anymore.
Okay.
We got all the background, I think, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So, I think it's time we start talking about what happened to your parents. Like the truthful version.
Okay.
Okay? So, we have 20 pages of writing. We're going to start with a clean, white piece of paper for you to start telling the truth.
Okay. What?
Because listen to me. This is the only chance you're going to have to tell us the truth.
Okay.
Okay?
What?
Listen. I can't tell you what we know, but we know you're not telling us the truth. We know your parents are no longer with us. Okay? And we know the reason why. Okay? You need to tell the truth. Listen. You need to tell the truth about what happened and just tell us why it happened. Okay? If something happened, if you were defending yourself, or if you just got fed up with stuff, you need to tell us the truth. Okay? This is your chance to tell us why. Okay? I'm not BSing you. Okay? So can we do that?
Okay. Okay. What happened? Okay.
You know what happened. We're not going to tell you what happened. You know what happened. You were there when it happened. We're not BSing you, okay?
I wasn't there when it happened.
We know more than you think we know.
I understand.
There's people that have told us things. We have evidence. We have proof that more has happened. Okay. So your parents never made it to the cabin, and I think you know that. You want to stand up and spin it over here for me?
get anything in your pockets at all?
Wallet.
Just a wallet that just put in there? Oh.
One piece of the puzzle was put in place 1 month earlier when a friend Chandler met through the online first-person shooter Call of Duty, Andrew Smith, visited the Halderson home. He drove from Kansas, although when they first met, Smith was stationed with the U.S. Army in Germany. He's a colorful character, and he didn't hold back on the stand. Andrew gifted the Russian SKS rifle to his friend, but that's where his responsibility ended, as you'll hear in his testimony.
Had you ever been to Wisconsin before?
No, sir.
Okay. It's a long drive up here.
No shit. Yes, sir.
It's okay. So everyone slips up. I'm showing you what's been marked. Let's talk a little bit about, I guess, that time period in which you met Mr. Halderson. You said you were stationed over in Germany.
Yes, sir.
Were you in the military?
Yes, sir.
What branch?
Army, sir.
And where in Germany were you stationed?
Ansbach, sir.
And whereabout is that?
Middle of BFE, sir.
And how did you meet someone who lived here in Wisconsin while you were in Germany?
Playing video games on Arma 3 server, sir.
About what time was this? What year was this?
I want to say it was 2019 or 2018. It was shortly after my son was born, sir.
And how often, if you just had to give us a general overview, how often would you play video games with Chandler online?
Almost every day, sir.
Okay. And would you be talking and communicating during that time period?
Yes, sir.
When you came back to the United States, what state did you move to or live in?
Kansas, sir.
Is that your home?
For now.
Okay. At some point, you decided to come visit Chandler.
Yes, sir.
Whenabouts was that?
Sometime during, I think it was June, sir.
Of this past year?
Yes.
When you visited Wisconsin to see Chandler, you brought him a gift.
Yes, sir.
What did you bring him?
I brought him a 20-inch barrel SKS.
You know what that document is?
Yes, sir. It's a FFL transfer paperwork, sir.
And you've been saying the phrase FFL, correct?
Yes.
What does that mean?
That's a federal firearms license holder.
Meaning someone who's licensed to sell firearms and fills out paperwork.
And does the correct background checks and such.
Did you document in any way transferring that gun to him?
Yes, sir.
How did you choose? Did you fill out paperwork like this?
I took his photo ID that the state issued him, and I took it right next to his serial number, annotating that this was me giving this weapon to this individual, so that way, if anything like this would occur, that it wouldn't necessarily come back to me.
How did Chandler react when you gave him the gun?
Oh, he was happy.
What do you mean? But how do you know he was happy, or how do you know that?
Because he had a big smile on his face when I had given it to him as a gift.
What did Chandler do with the gun? Were you able to figure out where he put it in the house?
Yeah, he had initially, so if you would walk down the flight of stairs in the basement, you would look left, there was like a little wood pile, and he had stuck it in the middle section there, because I understood that they might not be happy about having this firearm. So, but he had told me he was going to be moving soon to do a career in SpaceX in Florida, so he was just going to take it with him and move out there with it.
At some point, did Chandler suffer some sort of injury?
Yes, sir.
What do you know
As far
about
as
that?
I know, he went down the stairs and had fell somehow and screwed up his head or his neck.
And did that injury, according to Chandler, did that end up impacting his job or anything like that?
As far as I knew, so it seemed that because of the injury, he wasn't going to be able to take a flight out to Florida to do this SpaceX thing. But other than that, he didn't really explain what was wrong, just that he wasn't going to be able to fly out there and he wasn't able to look at computer screens or anything like that with so much blur on the screen or motion blur.
Did Chandler tell you anything about the head injury in terms of specifics about what was going to happen or how
He
severe
told
it
me
was?
that he would have to wear a neck brace and that they were supposed to drill a hole in his head or something like that to alleviate some sort of pressure.
Did you talk to Chandler about his parents being missing?
Yes, sir.
Tell me about those conversations.
Well, day one when he told us, because he had told me and my friend that he's friends with that I visited when I was down in Texas, he told us that they had been missing. So we both suggested to him that, hey, if this is really a big concern for you, you might want to contact law enforcement immediately.
Okay. What did Chandler say to that?
He said, well, they might turn up, so I'll just wait a few days, and so it goes.
After that conversation, do you recall having any other conversations with Chandler about his parents being missing?
Just talking about how or where they could have end up it, or what was going on with the situation.
Was Chandler expressing worry to you or that he was concerned?
He seemed concerned, yes.
You've been cooperative with law enforcement the whole time, haven't you?
I'm not going to be a broken piece of glass, sir.
Meaning you'll help if you need to.
Yes.
Okay. The police, in fact, visited you down in where you live at some point.
Yes, sir.
You, when asked, had given them access to things like bank records or your phone and things of that sort?
Yes, sir.
And you've provided photographs whenever you could?
Yes, sir.
Why was that important to you to assist?
Well, to put it bluntly, sir, I served in the Army, and I'm not going to get fucked for something that I didn't do.
The verdict form on count 1, as signed by the presiding juror and dated today, reads, "We, the jury, find the defendant Chandler M. Halderson guilty of first-degree intentional homicide as to Bart A. Halderson, as charged in count 1 of the amended information. We, the jury, find the defendant Chandler M. Halderson guilty of providing false information about a missing person as to Bart A. Halderson, as charged in count 2 of the amended information. We, the jury, find the defendant Chandler M. Halderson guilty of mutilating a corpse as to Bart A. Halderson, as charged in count 3 of the amended information. Guilty of hiding a corpse as to Bart A. Halderson, as charged in count 4. We, the jury, find the defendant Chandler M. Halderson guilty of first-degree intentional homicide as to Krista R. Halderson, as charged in count 5 of the amended information. Guilty of providing false information about a missing person. Guilty of mutilating a corpse as to Krista R. Halderson. Guilty of hiding a corpse as to Krista R. Halderson, as charged in count 8 of the amended information."